Here we go again. No topic has been so thoroughly dissected as the Clintons' love-hate relationship with the media. Now, as Hillary Clinton pursues another presidential bid, the flap over her emails is yet another chance for both sides to lock horns. Hillary Clinton's midweek presser had a familiar feel as she addressed her use of private email for official business at the State Department.
I thought using one device would be simpler, and obviously it hasn't worked out that way.
But nothing is ever quite that simple with the Clintons, especially when it comes to answering questions.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
What difference at this point does it make?
From Monica Lewinsky to Benghazi, the Clintons have had a long, tortured history with the media. And the press has become accustomed to answers like this.
Secretary Clinton. I'd be happy to have somebody talk to you about the rules. I fully complied with every rule that I was governed by.
Either way, Hillary's "trust me, nothing to see here" line propelled what had been a minor story into the headlines.
One of those stories that gets Washington hyperventilated.
When she came face to face with reporters here in New York,
she may have raised more questions than she answered.
Is the press picking on Hillary? Hard to say. But when it comes to the Clintons, somehow it's always personal. You know, one of the things I really get caught up in watching the Clintons is that they really sort of set themselves above it all, like that they're unapproachable, untouchable, and they are. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons. It's just like people are nervous about pushing them, and so a lot of stuff gets said about them and around them, but the pushback is not all that consistent.
I felt like she was pushed a fair amount at that press conference and didn't do that well. One thing that I'm interested in is the notion that the treatment she got at the presser or afterwards suggests negative media bias. There was, I think, a John Allen piece in Politico in which he said that her message at the press conference was "go to hell." And some people said, oh, look, that shows the media's out to get her. Her message was "go to hell." When she apologized and said, oh, you know, obviously I made a mistake, the unstated sort of second part was because if I'd used two phones, I wouldn't be up here talking with you idiots defending myself. I thought they pushed her. I do think that the media should have said, did any of those deleted emails involve your husband's Clinton Foundation? And you know, the ties between her as Secretary of State and her husband are problematic. I wish they dug into that more.
But it was that sense of being above it all, that sense of the Clintons hold themselves apart, that has made this story last. I mean, you know, the question about the emails, she could explain it away in a fairly decent way, except that it ties into this ongoing feeling that they are above the law, they are above the rules, they make their own rules, and they will continue to make their own rules if she's in the White House in 2016. That's why there's so much interest.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, of course they set themselves apart. I mean, these are gods who walk among us. We're lucky to have them, let's face it. But having said that, look, I don't have any problem with someone who wants to be president of the United States being put through this ringer. It seems to me, and we often talk about sexism in the media, sexist treatment. At least we're not talking about the dress and the pearls she wore or whatever they were at the press conference. That's progress, I guess. She absolutely deserves to have tough scrutiny and tough analysis directed at her. Do you want the next president of the United States to be a control freak who thinks the rules don't apply to him or her? I don't. I think that's a worthwhile line of inquiry, and I don't see any unfair treatment here.
Is it going to be left to me to defend Hillary Clinton?
Yes.
Is that the way it's going to be? Yeah. You know, the analogy I use is sort of a medical one, and it's like a medical one. It's like the Clintons and the media. It's like an allergy, and with each incident, the hives get worse. And I think for all the reasons that you pointed out, that when this email thing, which may not prove to be the biggest issue in the world. We'll see, because there'll be plenty of more investigating, and it'll get, but that sparks this huge allergic reaction in the media, and they just you get what you saw, this massive press conference.
Well, and the Clintons then, or Hillary Clinton, adds to the antagonism. I mean, this is a little bit of an inside baseball story, but she had the press conference at the United Nations where a lot of the Washington press, the national press, wasn't already credentialed. There were long lines to be credentialed. It created a mood of the room and a feeling that she was disrespecting them that fairly or unfairly seeps into the coverage, and again, that just general impression.
But I think they were expecting to be offended, and so I think that's kind of plays into it a little bit.
Well, do you think this is deliberate on her part, Adam? Sort of like setting herself up against the press. I mean, a lot of people can't stand the press either, and maybe be siding with
true.
Hillary Clinton on
You know,
this.
I mean, I don't know the woman at all. I don't know her well enough to say if it's deliberate or not. My hunch, though, is that this is based on genuine animosity that she has developed over the years, and that it's not sort of a strategic gambit. A lot of people don't like the Clintons either. This might be the rare case in which, if you did polling, you'd find a majority of Americans sympathetic with the press as opposed to the politician they're covering. So I don't think it's a strategy.
It would be a real gamble, let's face it, if she were lying and she deleted emails that were official business. I mean, because the Clintons
it'd be a
have been
gamble,
caught in
but how
lies
would we
before.
find out, right? It's on her private email server. She has gone through and had people she trusts do the vetting herself. I don't think we'd know, would we?
I don't know. I will say this. I did think there was a little bit much of this link delving into the whole litany of her history. So this is just the latest incident in a line that goes all the way back to Whitewater. Period. Move on to next thought. Excuse me, I think maybe some of your readers or viewers need to know what Whitewater was and what it wasn't, instead of just saying, oh, there's this whole long trail of scandal attached to her. That's kind of crude.
Meanwhile, the Associated Press is filing a motion to have access to these emails. I don't know how far that's going to go because, the argument being that there's a separation between the personal and the professional, and she says she's done that. But why didn't she have two devices? Has that been answered?
Or why?
One device.
Why did she,
right? The
why
issue
did
was
she
had
do
the-
her? Why didn't she do her daughter's wedding on a separate device?
Well, she said, go ahead.
Yeah, no, she said she had one device to simplify, right? And so she just decided to have all of it on the private because it would make everyone's life easier. Plus, you could get that cool picture of her texting.
I'm not buying that.
I don't know about you guys. When I use my phone, I have my work account in one location and my personal account in another, and they're both on one phone.
I'm with her. I'm with her on that one. You've got two devices. How do you hold your DD? I don't get it.